Took off in a good way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
We had our challenges though with it,
Tell me
especially in
about
the
those.
beginning. I've only had the company for just over a year, so and I've also only been out of prison for just over a year.
Cory, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Great, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, happy to. You still out in Mass right now, Massachusetts?
Yes, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Is that where you born and raised?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so you stayed out there even with the snow, huh?
Yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of the snow, but um it's kind of depressing for me, but I pushed through it.
I love it, man. How long you've lived out there in Mass?
My whole life, I'm 25 years old, so I lived out here for 25 years.
I love it, brother. What keeps you busiest day to day right now?
Just managing my company that I started. Um, it's that takes up the majority of my day
Okay.
for every day.
What kind of
Um,
company do you have right now? What are you running?
I'm running a um, home renovation company,
Okay.
and we do a little property management as well. Um, I started it when I first got out, and it kind of just took off, and we
Off in a
didn't
good
look
way,
back
yeah.
from there. What was that?
Took off in a good way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
We had our challenges though with it,
Tell me
especially in the
about those.
beginning. I've only had the company for just over a year, so and I've also only been out of prison for just over a year. So it's
Tell me about some of the challenges that you faced in that first year.
oh a lot. I mean, I would say the main thing is just enjoying the process, because no matter if you're in prison, you're behind the wall, or you're out here, you're gonna have challenges. And I learned to enjoy the process. So it's not all fun and games and great, like it's like I make it seem sometimes, but it can be, but it's a lot of hard work and there's a lot of challenge. But to answer your question, I would say the biggest challenge would probably be enjoying the process, because we do run into a lot of I run into a lot of issues with family, not just the business, but family, friends, everything. So just enjoying the process and kind of um, staying focused is the hardest challenge, I would say, for sure.
Yeah. When you got out of prison and this time and you decided to go into this path and decided that this was going to be enough is enough and you were going to make that total change, transformation in your life, did you lose a lot of friends and family along the way?
Yeah, definitely. Because when I was in prison, I had this vision and this plan, and I also was in juvie. I did 2 years in juvie, and I did 4 years in state prison. But yeah, I had this vision of when I got out, how it was going to be with family and friends and everything. And it didn't go like that at all. I thought some family would be supportive towards, I kind of knew I was going to start my own business, but it didn't go as planned. I definitely lost a lot of people along the way. But one thing I learned with that is you can go different paths with people, and you don't have to beef with them. It happens. It's how life goes.
Yeah, that's the truth, man. That's for sure. I always find it interesting. You always think, and the guys that I talk to, it's like you found your path or your purpose, and you would think everybody would be happy for you, but that's not always the case.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of people um, that I thought were going to be happy for me, that I've even had someone in my family that they had their own business, and when I got out of prison, I started my business, and I thought they were going to be so happy for me, and they were like, I'm the business person in this family, but they were kind of envious, and I just didn't expect that type of stuff. I expected everyone to be like, "Oh, great job," supportive and all that. But that's not reality.
No, it's definitely not reality. It's super interesting, man. So if you walk back past a year ago, prior to prison, how long did you do inside?
I did 4 years in state prison. I started my journey in county for a couple months, and then I went up to Walpole State Prison for classification. That's shut down now. That's a very historic prison in Massachusetts.
Yep.
Very bad back in the day. It's not even open anymore. But that was from 2020 during COVID to 2024. I did 4 years in prison, and
How was
I
that?
ended up going.
How was that experiencing COVID in prison?
Oh, it was crazy because I was 19 years old when I went in, and I just turned 24 when I got out. But COVID wasn't even a thing. It was December 2019 when I went in. So COVID kind of first hit around 2020, the beginning of 2020.
Yep.
So it was crazy.
What changed in your opinion from being inside on lockdown? Was it less time on the rec yard? Was the food different? Visitation? Was there any emotional challenges that you had during COVID?
Yeah, well, here in Massachusetts we had like a 2022 and 2 lockdown for COVID. I mean, I remember I was cleaning my cell one day with bleach and I couldn't smell the bleach, so that's how I knew I had COVID. But um it was definitely wearing people down on their mental health because visits were canceled. I think the whole world kind of just was in a shamble. And I actually read something that you shared on Facebook earlier, and it said from ever since COVID started until now, there's been a huge decrease in young men working and finding employment and education and sticking with that. And that's a big thing we're trying to focus on with my company is we do home renovations, and we have these young men coming out of DYS, and we hire them, and we teach them how to do some of the work, and we have them make money, put them on the books so it looks good for their parole officers and stuff. And there's a huge drought of finding young men that want to do some hard work. I learned that from being out too.
Crazy, isn't it? I just told the guys, I was just inside last weekend and I just told the guys that same story. Like, man, if you just come out and you're willing to take any job and every job and willing to put in the grind, put in the work and work your way up through networking and hard work, bro, out here, nobody has work ethic. The sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
So
mean, when I first started, I didn't just get out and well, no one wanted to hire me, and then I found some warehouse to hire me. I was working 4 in the morning till 10, 11, unloading trucks. But then after 11, I would do my business and I would clean out houses and try to build my name and my reputation. And then, like a couple months in, we were like, I said, this isn't for me. I'm going full board with my business. And it was probably the best decision I ever made in my life. So, but I wouldn't have been able to get there if I didn't work at that warehouse and save money and stay focused. I wouldn't have been able to build my business either, as fast as I did, at least.
when did you think it was time to jump ship? When did you know, because you had the warehouse gig, when did you think, all right, like, was it revenue? Was it mindset? Was it motivation? What said it's time to quit doing both and it's time to go all in? What was that point for you?
Well, I mean, honestly, my father, I love him, and great guy. He worked a 9 to 5 his whole life, and he's real corporate. And I remember I was sitting there, and I had these clients calling me, and they're like, "We need a home renovation. We need you to drive out here. We're willing to give you this much money, and you need to be here at 8 a.m." And I was thinking, like, I'm not going to get out of work until 10 a.m. I'm going to lose this whole contract. And I called my dad and I said, I was sitting at the warehouse and I said, what do you think I should do? And he said, I think it's time to make the leap, and I think it's time to quit and go full board. If and that I knew coming from him, he's never told me anything like that. When I first started my business, he said I was an idiot. He said no one's going to give you money to fix their house, and um, I forgave him for that, and he's one of my main supporters now. But to make a believer out of him, I knew it was the right move.
Man, that's incredible. So walk the guys inside, walk them through, like, how difficult is it to set up the business? Like, really walk them through the day to day, Cory, of like, here you are at the warehouse, but you're hustling at 11 a.m. Like, really walk them through. You leave the warehouse. How did you get? Was it a flyer? Was it a business card? Was it a where did like your first gig to clean out the house start from?
Um, it we our first job actually we got hired to take a couch out of someone's house and it didn't fit through the door, so we ended up having them throw it off their third floor balcony, and it was a $40 job, and we kind of cut it up and dumped it for $10 and we made $30 off of it. And we just grinded, man. We had like no life. It was just work, family, work, family, work, family, and that was it. We didn't party, we didn't go out. um all my old friends were like, you're acting different, come out, what are you doing, and I had that vision, and I just didn't let anyone. I trusted my intuition. If I felt bad about something, when I went to prison, I was 19. I wasn't the smartest kid, and I thought I was, and I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't If I had a bad feeling, I would just do it anyway sometimes, and I don't do that anymore. um but you have no life. I had no life. I was just constantly grinding.
I love it. And was that word of mouth? How did your business grow?
Oh yeah, so it was a lot of word of mouth, a lot of realtors, building a reputation, but we also did Facebook advertising, social media advertising. I mean, I run the company. I'm a 50% owner of the company. The other 50% owner did 6 years in prison. His name's Trent Nicolopoulos, and um, he does the same thing as me. So I found someone with the drive that I have, the dedication, and we're both sober now. We're both family men, and we work hard. And he when I slack a little bit, he'll pick me up. When he slacks a little bit, I'll pick him up. But we both worked at the warehouse together. Um, I got him a job there when he first got out, and we both quit on the same day. I called him and said I'm out, and he left too. And
Man,
we have loyalty to each other. But if you meet, one person that's on the same path as you, and stick with it.
yeah,
Definitely.
that's a ticket, bro. It's quite literally just doing it over and over and over and over, right?
Yeah, and getting better and more efficient.
What do you think you got better at? What did you suck at in the
uh,
beginning? These are always fun.
I'm a people person. I went to prison for selling drugs and guns, and um I'm like, I've always been a good salesman. I was just in the wrong business. And
It's the truth.
I've always been good at selling. So my part of the job is finding the jobs, doing the scheduling, contracting, telling everyone where to go. I do like 10 jobs in one right now, which I trying to figure that out. But it's a struggle sometimes. It really is. It's a struggle to run a business. I didn't think it was going to be this difficult, but I think if you are, I try to be humble. I think one thing that prison made me was way more humble. And running a company, you're gonna have a lot of people looking at you if you do blow up, and people it's more respectable the more humble you are. And then if you could you just ask me the question one more time, because I
What
got
do you
thrown.
think? What do you think you were the worst at? What do you think you've gotten better at? When you look back
I
now,
def
like, man, I sucked at estimating, and now I'm now I'm fantastic or whatever. Like,
I didn't even know how to read a tape measure when I started my business. So my my co-defendant actually was a licensed general contractor. He was the only friend of mine from the whole case that didn't
great.
tell on me, and that was cool. So me and him kind of stuck together. And when I got out, he had his own construction company, so he was a licensed general contractor. He kind of showed me the ropes and got
Okay.
my licensing right and my insurance, and he kind of showed me the ropes too. So I got lucky there. For
Yeah.
I did have some luck too.
Okay. Well, that helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go to prison when you're 19,
Yes, sir.
right? You go to prison. Was it a 4 year sentence, 5 year sentence? What does that work?
4 years to 5 years was my sentence.
4 to 5. So obviously you didn't wake up at 19 and go, hey, prison is my life choice, right? So what was, what was Cory like from, 13 to 18, those formidable years as a youth? What was your youth like growing up?
Trouble. I was the trouble kid. I'm the young. I have older siblings. I'm the youngest, and I was always getting into some type of trouble.
Okay. Now, were your parents around?
Yes, my parents are actually both successful. My mom's a realtor, and my dad's retired now, but he's a real estate investor, and he worked a 9 to 5 his whole life doing trucking and logistics.
So your parents were around. That wasn't the issue. It wasn't some broken household.
No, it wasn't. No, a lot are, but I keep it real. I had two loving parents that loved me, and they didn't raise me like that. So um, I kind of just took a bad route. I was always getting into trouble. My parents worked a lot of hours, so I was always by myself. And the 2009 recession, 2008 recession, I was 8, 9 years old. My dad was in the middle of building a house, and he kind of lost everything due to the recession.
Yep.
And we moved into one of the apartment buildings that we owned, and that was humbling experience too. But I mean, overall, my childhood was pretty good.
When did the drugs get introduced to you as a teenager, and from who?
15 years old, just I had no skill, didn't even know how to use a screwdriver. Like I said, read a tape measure. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. Um, so I mean, I kind of just did what I knew I loved making money, and I just kind of took off, and I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize all the people I was hurting. It seemed great because when you're watching people do it and they're successful at it and you're around it, after school, I would start selling weed at like the basketball courts, and then it just went into selling coke at parties and selling e-pill, and then before you know it, my door's getting kicked in by the DEA, and that's when reality slaps you in the face.
Golly. How old were you when the DEA visited your place?
I was not. I was so the first I got raided twice, but the first time I was 16 years old. Um, I did 2 years in juvie. I got out when I was 18, and then I got raided again, and I went back in for 4 years when I was 19.
Wow. Both times were you raided at your parents' house?
No, one time was my parents' house. The other time was they said it was a stash house. And that's where all I had a bunch of friends there. And I already pleaded guilty and did my time. I jumped out the window and I got away. And they found a bunch of guns and drugs and money. And I got charged months later, and they ended up, my everyone that I thought was my friends, except for one, uh, they told on me for time reduction. So,
Mm.
um,
Man, the homies disappear quick on a plea deal, don't they?
yeah, yeah, they definitely did. It was That it was a crazy experience. I learned a lot from it.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing that you have learned?
Um, Gratitude. I would say I wasn't grateful for anything before, and then when I went to prison, it made me slow down. I thought I was invincible. I could do whatever I wanted. I didn't really have a care in the world for anything.
Hmm.
And now when I wake up, I mean, I could have I've took risks. I've lost thousands of dollars. I've had many bad things happen to me since I've been out, and you know, I try to keep the faith and stay grateful because that got me through a lot of hardships, and it works
Man, gratitude changes everything, that's for sure.
definitely. And having faith too, because you have to trust the process when you're changing, when you're trying to not surround yourself with certain people. And you might be thinking like, oh my God, I just had these people throw a couch off their third floor window and I'm doing that. I'm staying up till 2 a.m. I'm tired. And you're not going to trust the process. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah,
But if you do trust the process and you work hard at something every single day and you wake up in the morning and you really set your mind to it and you have faith, I promise you'll achieve it at some level. You might not be the best. It might not work out it might not work out the first time. I promise you will achieve it at some level.
man, that's so true. So true. You still have people that are locked up inside that you correspond with or waiting to get out?
Yeah, absolutely. I talk to a lot of people. We try to keep a constant contact with the inside because we try to employ people coming home and find them some jobs. We have jobs everywhere. So I mean, if anyone's willing to work when they come home, they just got to give me a call.
I love that, man, especially giving back to the
Absolutely.
next generation is just key, bro. Just key. Especially when I mean, you're living proof. That's the funny thing, right? You're still young. You're really, really young. You got the whole world ahead of you. So 25 years old, but reality is if you said for the last, let's say 9 years since you were, plus or minus 16, you just been in and out of drugs and jail and rehab and in and out of problems from 16 to 24, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, that's why usually when I come home, I'm ready to call someone and re-up. Like, who am I re up off of? But this time it wasn't like that.
what was the difference this time, you think?
I think, like you just said, I spent so many years in there. I had too many cases, too much time. I wasted my whole life, and I was 25, and I was like, I got to do something. I can't keep doing this.
Man, how what was your time like inside on a day to day? What did you spend, like a good portion or majority of your time doing? Did you have programs? Did you have tablets? Did you have rec time? What was your day like inside prison for those 4 years?
I'm glad you asked me that, because I believe the work starts in prison, and I believe the reason why I'm on this podcast now is because I was I was doing the work in prison, and I used to listen to your podcast in prison, and that's why I'm on your podcast now. So that's living proof right there that it all starts on the inside. And day to day for me on the inside would be, work out, read, call family, call home, try to stay out of bullshit. But it didn't work out for me like that because I was 19, first time in prison. I go to Walpole. I got into a shit ton of trouble, man. But even when I did get into trouble, I still managed to keep up with my fitness, keep reading books. Man, I had not just you, but so many people in a notebook from listening to their podcast. I wrote down all their information. I listened so closely. I took notes on everything. And when I got released, I reached out to all those people because I knew I needed to surround myself with good people. But from the inside. It all starts on the inside, man. And I think fitness, waking up early. Don't be that guy that's sitting in a dirty cell and reading Harry Potter books all day. You don't want to be that guy. You want to wake up early, and it all starts in there, man. You're not hopeless while you're in there. You can change while you're in there. You don't have to wait till you get out.
Man, it's a good message for sure, bro. I love that. What do you think is next for you? You've got a ton of opportunities ahead of you. So when you look at what you've accomplished in 12 months, what does the next 12 months hold for you?
Yeah, I would say the next 12 months, we want to, in this being on this podcast actually sparked a lot of these conversations that I have with all these multi-million dollar realtors that I work with every day. And we want to create programs for the youth that was incarcerated or is at high risk of incarceration. I don't want to just work on residential remodeling and work on everyone's house. I want to make an impact in the world. And even though I'm making an impact on these houses, I feel like I'm not making an impact like
Mhm.
I'm supposed to. So that we're gonna amp that up a little bit. We're gonna try to get some more programs in. And I'm waiting on an offer to be accepted right now on a fix and flip, and we want to really start getting more invested into real estate and just keep going up.
Did you ever think 4 years ago this would be the conversations you were having with yourself, worrying about whether or not you got a fix and flip?
No, man, I used to sit in the cell and dream that I'd be on your podcast to be able to say this one day.
For real though?
Yeah, man, I swear to God on everything I love. I used to sit in the cell, listen to you, Aaron Smith, Forgiven Felons. I used to listen to all you guys, and you guys made a difference, definitely. Because who was I listening to before that? I was listening to people that are 40 years old that are still selling crack. I thought they were cool when I was 19 and I wanted to make some money, but when I had a chance to sit down and look at it, it's like that's not who I want to be.
Man,
And
man, I'm glad to see the change. I love it.
appreciate it.
I love it, man. How proud is your family of you?
Oh, family's overwhelmingly proud. Um,
Love that.
yeah, absolutely.
I love that. The peace that you have on a daily basis with your mom and with your dad, not worrying about looking over your shoulder or who you're hanging out with, that's got to be priceless.
Yeah, it's priceless. And honestly, I'm making more money now than when I did sell drugs. But
That's good.
it's I think that I don't think my family. I think when I first got out, they seen what I was doing, but they always thought I was doing something else. They thought it was a cover up. And my dad said that to me before. He's like, "Oh, this is a cover up. You're not fixing up no one's houses. You're selling drugs and you're just using that as a cover up." Because that's all I did for my whole life. So I think a lot of people didn't believe it at first. And you're gonna deal with that. If you fucked up a lot and you're on the inside and you're getting out and you're doing good, you're gonna have people that put you down and they're not gonna believe that you're doing good. And you just gotta keep going. You just gotta keep going. Block all that out and just keep going.
Man, that's such good advice because it's real talk, right? Like,
Yeah.
talk about this, man. Let's talk about entitlement. You know what that means?
Yeah.
So I get a lot of this. I don't know if you felt that when you were inside with the guys. You're at a pretty notorious joint, so you probably experienced a little bit of it. But so many of these guys that I come across, man, they feel like they're entitled to some shit, like the world owes them because they did a little bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I say now is I never could picture myself saying this, but it was, it was me that did it. Like it wasn't Travis, it wasn't my mom, it wasn't my friend that sold drugs. I sold drugs. It was me, and what do I do today when I wake up? I think about what am I doing to improve myself, whether that's the gym or with my company or whatever that may look like for you, because maybe not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur or a business owner or an investor. Not that, maybe that's not for you, but it was for me and it worked out. And it's definitely not easy. So if you're thinking about being one of those three things that I just said, just know it's not going to be easy.
No, it's never going to be easy, but it's always worth it. Like you heard that old idea about choosing your hard, right?
Yeah,
It's the same thing, right? I'm sure selling dope was just as hard as trying to sell yourself on a clean out. I'm sure the
yeah.
anxiety of, worried about the DEA kicking in your door is the same as, do I get this fix and flip contract, right? It's all hard.
And I think a big thing with that is perspective, because if you're it's your perspective on a day-to-day basis, because when I run into problems like today, when I have customers calling me and the work's not done on time and stuff like that, I mean, I could look at that as like, oh my god, like it's not done, they might not pay me now, I might have messed up this job. You could look at it like that, or you could look at it like, how can I learn from this so I don't mess up the next one. And that's with anything in life, that's with family stuff, that's with anything. It's your perspective. When you wake up in the morning, I think you should think about what you're grateful for. I think you should think about and try to keep a good perspective throughout your day. I think that's huge,
I love that because
because
things,
no matter who you are, you're going to run into some type of problems.
it's the
And
truth.
all business is problem solving. So your perspective is huge, I think.
It's massive, bro. And you're right. I used to make this joke all the time. I still sometimes do when people would say, "What do you do?" And I would say, "Well, like I'm a fireman." And then people would be like, "I don't understand," right? And then you tell that joke like, "Yeah, man, all I'm doing all day is putting out fires as an entrepreneur." And then as things got bigger
Okay.
and people started to know me more, I would tell folks that I was the head janitor. And, people thought that that was kind of cute, but the reality is, bro, we're just cleaning up messes all day long. That's the reality of running businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You hit that the nail right on the head right there. That's definitely, and it's all problem solving.
Yeah, it
But I
is.
mean, it's when you're selling drugs, you don't even realize it. I didn't realize it, but I was doing accounting, communications, advertising. I was doing all these things when I was selling drugs. If I just did that legally, it's you don't have it's so much worth it. I mean, I think anyone with common sense would know that it's way better to do it that way.
It's so funny you say that. That's the exact, it literally is business 101. You're just in the wrong product. You're in the wrong industry. You were doing all of the steps. You were doing all the work. It's just business 101. You were just in a different industry.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm proud of you, bro. I love it. What do you want to say to the well, first of all, how can everybody who is coming out, lives near Mass, how can they contact you? Where can they look you up? Where can they find you for all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, Clean Slate Estates LLC. We're on Instagram, clean_slate_estates. My website is www.clean-slate-estate.com. And our business number is 774-230-7451. Anyone can call anytime or text anytime. And especially if you're just getting out and you need some help, we definitely would be willing to work with you.
Man, I love it. This goes to like a million people, so you better have unlimited data.
I might have to get another business number, right?
Especially if they're female, they're gonna start trolling you.
I know, right?
I
I'm
love it,
sure you've probably had to change your number a few times, right?
bro. Constantly, constantly, and then they just keep getting it. Whatever.
And I do just want to say on the for your podcast, that you're really out here doing it too, man. Every day I follow you, and some of the people that you're connected with, and you're out here putting in the work every day, man. I look up to you, and you're doing great things out here.
Man, it means the world to me. I love the full circle story because I remember the first time you contacted me on social media when you had just gotten out.
Yeah, right when I got out, I had that list of everyone I reached out to, and you were definitely on there.
It means the world to me, bro. It really does. I love to be able to do this and give back.
And
And
it's humble, not to cut you off. It's humble because I mean, you're such a humble human being that even though you had, I don't know how many units you owned and how successful of a real estate investor you were, me as a 24-year-old kid getting out of prison, you took the time to hop on a call with me, my team, my mother, and try to coach us through our first real estate investment. And like, you did that for nothing, you know? And that's huge, man.
Oh
It's
man.
real humble of you, and it shows your character for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I get to pass it along to guys like you, and then you guys get to carry the torch and the baton, bro, because you're younger and you got younger legs and bigger shoulders. You're gonna do 10 times the impact that I did. So I'm grateful we connected. I'm really proud of you, man. I really am.
Thank you. I
You want
appreciate
to say
that a
to the
lot.
guys and gals inside,
Um, I mean, if I had one message, it would be if you're facing any like depression, I think depression is a big thing there, and I think it comes from maybe bad habits or your situation or maybe just being in prison, you know. Um, you can't the darkness doesn't last forever. There is light. One of my best friends got life in prison without parole. The law changed where you can't give juveniles life without, and he's free now. He got out on parole. They reversed his sentence to a 15 to life, and he's released now. And that he's a prime example too. I see every day of someone that he had nothing to look forward to in life. He got sentenced to life without. He had nothing, and he's out now. He's in Tufts College. Um, his name's Quintel, and he's doing good. He's making his mom proud. He changed his whole life around. So if you're inside and you're depressed, you're feeling down, just know that there's always a way. There's always a light at the end of the darkness. You just got to keep the faith, man, and stay working hard, stay focused, even while you're in there.
I love it, bro. I love it. Okay. Want to make sure this goes to the world. We'll tag you. We'll sign you. We'll make sure that you collaborate. We'll make sure that it goes inside, and when it does, we'll continue to change the world. And you got my number, you got my digits, so I'm happy to help anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a second episode with my business partner that did six
Do that.
years.
Let's do that. You know what would be fun? Check this out. You know what would be fun is if we could do that second episode like 15 minutes on the job site and then like with some real talk. Like people would love that stuff, real behind the scenes type
Yeah.
stuff. And
I
then
mean, our job sites are cool too. Everyone on there, I mean, they all did time, Some of them are 18, some of them are 40, 50. And, it's awesome. I honestly love it. But that's a great idea.
let's do that. Set that up. I'll tell Mark you're gonna reach out and he'll get that dialed in on my calendar. We'll go from there.
Awesome, man. Sounds like a plan.
Stay up, brother. Stay up, stay out. God bless. Be in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh man, my pleasure, bro. Talk to
Take
you soon.
care.